Well, hello everyone, and welcome to. Um, I'm just gonna call it the day that changed my life forever. Um, it came up in my Facebook memories, and I, to this day, do not remember the exact date that's happened. I've kind of blocked it out of my memory. Um, Today's the day that the place I worked for eliminated my entire department. I was going through some stuff at that time. Um, 2017 started out really well for me. I was the lead in a play in here in Bay City, um, and then things took a different turn. My parents had a lot of health issues in 2016. 2017 was the worst year for that for me. Um, my mom went into hospice the week of opening of the play, and she passed in between opening night and the next day. I still, to this day, do not know how I got through that day, how I got through going to my parents' house, seeing my dad, seeing how broken he was at that point. He When I saw him, I knew he wasn't going to be long with us. I just knew that. And then, you know, dealing with that, going to the funeral home, setting up arrangements, and then going to the play and having to perform when I'm the lead, one of the leads. Um, Andy Hansen, he was the other lead in the play. Um, he and I worked together very well. I can't say enough about him. Uh, but that night, we really put together a performance. There wasn't a lot of words said that night between me and my co actors and actresses, obviously. Um, there were a lot of hugs, there was a lot of support. They put together the most energetic performance I've ever seen in my life. There's not many times you have that perfect performance, and we had one that night. We had one. Um, anyway, Dad was supposed to come that night. I still have his ticket up on my memorabilia shelf. Um, he came the following week. That was his last time out in public. He went back into the hospital a couple of days later and went from there into hospice himself. And he passed within 5 weeks of mom passing. So I'm dealing with all this. Um, how do I want to put this? I was dealing with a lot. Um, so I took some days off of work, probably more than I should have. Um, but I had a good team under me that supported me. I was head of audit at Sam's Club, and to this day, I still don't know how I got that position ahead of someone else that was in that department first. I wanted her job, and she wanted my job, and I got her job instead of um, instead of the other way around. And my microphone just fell down. But so Nan and Tracy, if you ever see this, I appreciate both of you a lot because you guys had my back for a long, long, long time. We Was I the best leader? Probably not. I've learned a lot over the last 8 years since this has happened. I would be a better leader today than I was then. Um, I will just say that. But I thought we made a good team, and I miss seeing both of you, truthfully. Um, but anyway, so Dad passed the beginning of March, and I will still remember this day in infamy to me. I had called in because I needed another day. I needed to process what was has been going on in my life, losing both parents so quickly. Um, and it was my manager calling me, and I was at a grocery store in Hemlock, and um, she says, I'm gonna give you over to the general manager." And of course, immediately in your mind, you're like, "What the heck's going on?" And our general manager, I could tell she was reading from an email. She was reading verbatim, and basically saying our entire department has been eliminated company wide. I could tell she wasn't happy about that. But at the same time, I knew things were coming in the business in where we worked, that they were going to be making changes. They were going to be starting to eliminate things. We had no clue we were going to be the first department eliminated. I remember getting that phone call and actually sitting down on the floor at the grocery store I was at and going, "What the heck? How am I going to get through this? What does this mean for my family?" So over the coming weeks, we found out, we were gonna, we had an opportunity. We could reapply for a position in the club, or we could take a severance package. Well, my two coworkers decided to reapply for a position. I thought about it for a hot minute, and I knew more stuff was coming, and I decided this is the time to get out. Severance package was decent. I can't lie about that. I received a pretty decent one, but for the next 60 days, I still had to show up for work, even though I didn't have a position. So I took on, I don't want to say odd jobs, but I took on things that um, needed to be done. One of the things was our record retentions area, which was above our receiving office. I don't think thing had been cleaned since we opened back in 2003, and this is 2017. By the time I got done with that, not only was everything taken care of, we got rid of old records, um, and I had cleaned that floor so well that I don't want to say you could have eaten off of it, but at least you could tell it was clean. Um, I organized our reserve steel, the things, things that we make the shelves out of, and the upper steel and all of that. I got that all taken care of. Well, unfortunately for me, maybe not unfortunately, because evidently I did a pretty good job at it. Word got out because I was very good friends with a one of our cake designers, because she had lent me certain things over the years to make kids cakes that I could ice cakes. Well, this is obviously today's the day. So I had until the first week of June. Well, guess what's coming up? Graduation season. So she's like, maybe he can work in the bakery. So guess what I did my last couple of weeks of working at Sam's Club? I was in the bakery. I was pre-icing cakes. I was making scoop cakes. I was decorating cupcakes. It was fun. I won't lie about that. It was a lot of fun to do that, but it was also um, kind of weird for me. But the day I left, um, the girl who had ratted me out, basically, I would say, made me this beautiful cake with the theater masks on it. And people who know theater know what I'm talking about. And at my exit interview, my general manager invited me back for the graduation season anytime. Never happened. Um, there's more to that story about why that didn't happen, and I'm not going to go into it here. And it wasn't anything to do with me not being willing to going back, but well, that's I don't know if I'll tell that story. Um, that's one that should not be told by me. But yeah, I had a great team. Nan and Tracy, they they were my rocks. Um, they took care of me. Um, there are things that I miss about that job. There are things I don't miss. The one thing I don't miss is the first of the month. That's the day we did our fresh inventory. That's the day we went in and we went through the meat department, we went through the bakery, we went through the cafe, we went through all of the fresh product and had to inventory it. I like cheese. I really like cheese. I did not like cheese on the first of the month because unfortunately, Sam's Club carries, well, there are 700 kinds of cheese in the world. I think we carried 800, truthfully. And unfortunately, we had to scan and do it by weight. Every piece of cheese that we had. Do you know how long that takes? That's crazy. I mean, where I work now, I have 4 pieces of cheese, and I'm happy as heck because I only have 4 pieces of cheese I've got to take care of inventory and order. Um, Now, things things have changed for me since my last day there. Um, Mostly for the better. We're getting there. I have jumped around several jobs. I had, well, after Sam's, I took some time off. Like I said, I had a decent severance package, and I was able to take some time off and have a very nice summer with my family. We did some amazing things, and that'll be a story for another day as well. I tried to get into UPS. That's going to be another story for another day. Um, After UPS, I was waiting for a call back from them. I went to work for a small sign shop in Saginaw that was run by a guy that I knew from high school that had another guy from high school that also worked there. I worked there for several years, did pretty well there. It just what it turned out to be not a fit. Um, then I went to work for Covenant for a while as security. Loved the job, also not a fit. And then Home Depot. That one felt like a fit, but then I got ill. Um, I went into the hospital for several days, and unfortunately, my cell phone was broken and I couldn't call them. I had several days of no call, no shows. They did what they had to do. I don't fault them at all for what they did. I still have a lot of respect for that company. I learned a lot there, and it's made me more into the leader I am now than what I was then. So now, you know where I'm at. Um, I was made a shift manager in March or at the end of January. Um, I'm mentoring people. Um, I'm also, I don't want to say strict, but I see a lot of things that go on. I don't know how else to put that. Um, Sitting on a slicer, my ears are open constantly, my eyes are open constantly. And there are things I see and hear that people don't realize that I do. But so I'm wanting to move up. I've already moved up to manager or a shift manager. I want to move up farther. Um, but that's kind of my life. I've had management positions before. Have I done well at them? I could have done better at Sam's Club. I won't lie about that. If I was a manager there now, I would manage totally differently than I do now. And I apologize to those I was manager over when I was there. I wasn't the best manager. Uh, I still don't think I am. I still think I have things to learn. But yeah, that's some of my time at Sam's Club. I have 21 years of stories from there. As I said, I'm going to start jumping around here a little bit. Um, these stories are helping me remember some things, and that's the reason I'm doing this. This is kind of like my own personal therapy. Um, I it's interesting where I am now, what things have led me to. I As I said, I think this job will be my last job. I'm just enjoying it too much. I enjoy the people I work for. I enjoy the people I work with. Um, are there issues? Yes. There are sometimes things that we have to deal with, especially as managers, and one of those happened tonight, and I'm not going to go into that. Um, but I kind of with the individuals that were involved with it, I cooled down the rest of the workers because that was one of those things. All right, I will say this about tonight. If you are witnessing something going on between a manager and an employee, and no, this was not me. I had nothing to do with the interaction that happened. But I dialed down the rest of it because it had to be dialed down. You don't go around talking to other employees about what you just saw. All right, here's one more story about Sam's Club. I worked in the accounting office, which basically we took in the money, we took in the checks, we took in the credit cards and all that. And at one time we had to enter all that stuff in manually, and it was a pain in the butt. But um, not that I disliked the job. Trust me, I loved being in that office. But the fact that it was a secure office, more than the manager's office, more than the personnel office, you had to have access to get into that room. So management would come in and they would vent. They would go off on stuff. And early on, I learned that when they do that, that's stuff you take to your grave. You don't you don't say a word about what they're talking about. So, unfortunately, I had to witness something tonight, and I'm gonna say something to the person that was involved with it. Not the employee, but the manager that was involved with it. And just say, next time you pull them into a separate room. You don't do it in front of employees. You don't talk to them like that in front of employees. You don't talk to that in a way that customers can hear. But um but that's just my 2 cents on it. That's the way I would have handled it. I would have said, "Hey, we need to go have a chat for a minute." That's the best way to handle it, in my opinion. You don't do it on the sales floor. You don't do it in front of, you know, 10 other people that are around you. You take them aside and have a personal chat with them. I've had that several times in my life. I've had it recently. You have to have those chats sometimes. That's the worst part of being a manager, is having to have those chats that you're uncomfortable with, um, that you don't want to have, but that you need to have. And it's not just to better the business, it's to better the person. Again, my 2 cents. So, all right, I'm going to cut it off there for the night. I appreciate if you tuned in. Love to hear feedback. I haven't seen any yet, so let me know what I can do better. Let me know what I'm doing well. Let me know what's worse. Seriously. All right. Stay tuned for chapter 5.